I am here at the Conservative Party conference. Let's get straight to Adam Marshall to get the view of business on everything we have been hearing here. Good morning to you, Adam. So we'll get to business and the actual plan for Brexit in a moment. But in terms of the infighting within the Conservative Party, it's everywhere in the media here in Birmingham. Is it, as somebody who's been to many of these conferences, is it something that businesses should focus in on as significant or just more background noise?
Well, we've got quite a lot of businesses who are trying to screen out the noise and simply get on with doing business at the moment, because if they do start to pay attention to the ongoing political psychodrama, their orders don't get fulfilled, their sales don't get made. So a lot of businesses are trying to just get on with things. But there is a nervousness. It does create a level of insecurity, and it does affect business confidence to see this going on. You have to remember, businesses in the UK have seen political ups and downs since 2014 with the Scotland referendum, 2 general elections, the Brexit referendum. I think they want a little bit of stability so that they can get on and focus on what they do best, which is grow. A
little bit of peace and quiet, perhaps. Now, it doesn't look as if that's on the agenda at the moment, but the Chequers plan is the name given, of course, to the Prime Minister's plan for Brexit. I was speaking to the Business Secretary yesterday, Greg Clark. He told me it's what business wants, in the context of it's preferable to the other options being discussed, a Canada-style deal or no deal at all. Is Chequers what business wants?
For us, it's all about function, not necessarily form. I don't care what you call it, as long as it delivers answers to the real-world practical questions businesses are facing.
So far, does it deliver any answers?
Yeah, it does deliver some of the answers. And I think what's very important is a lot of our businesses are in complex global supply chains, and they do need to see fairly frictionless trade. They don't want to see lots of impositions of whether it's tariffs or non-tariff barriers at the border. Businesses also want clarity and security on a number of other things, like where they'll have to pay VAT and how that will work, who they can hire. There's so many real-world practical questions out there. I think the form of the deal is less important than actually getting those answers.
Meanwhile, the infighting within the Conservative Party about which version of a Brexit plan to push forward continues. The government says it's just the Chequers plan. That's the only plan. Others here are still calling for something that they call a Canada-style deal, which is a different type of free trade agreement. Do you think it is possible to craft some kind of Canada-style plan that does not create more friction for business?
Well, it's a hypothetical. You could create 50 different scenarios for how a plan could work, but remember, we are in a negotiation. This is not a one-sided thing, and the United Kingdom needs to agree this with its opposite numbers in the EU 27. So in that negotiation, what we need to get to is an accommodation for both sides. What does business want? It doesn't want a messy or disorderly exit. It does want answers to those practical questions. And we've said very clearly it's up to our politicians to deliver something that actually answers those questions and gives the best possible terms of trade for the future.
But would it be possible with technology, with checking away from the borders, to have a Canada-style deal that didn't involve a line across Ireland?
Well, look, what we do know is that businesses tell us that it will take them a couple of years from the point of absolute certainty on what the technology is for them to adopt to it, right, to adapt to it. There's not much time here. We are running out of time. And my worry, and the worry of many in UK businesses who trade actively with Europe, is that we're still having the debate about what the solutions could be, when what we actually should be doing is preparing for their implementation right now. We need to draw a line under the hypotheticals and get to the brass tacks, the practicalities.
And your message to Conservative MPs here who think that no deal is a credible backstop for the United Kingdom, is it?
It is certainly not what business wants to see. They do not want to see a messy and disorderly exit. But whilst this negotiation is continuing, what this Conservative government needs to do is give businesses confidence on the domestic front as well. Brexit is important, but you could get the best Brexit deal in the world, and if we don't have the right conditions for growth here in the UK, we're not going to be able to make a success of it. We have people gaps and skills issues that are bigger than we've ever seen, and we have an immigration policy that's up in the air. We have road transport networks that are snarled. We have problems with broadband and digital connections when we have the world's second biggest cluster of services businesses. These are the kinds of real-world things where if you actually, as a government, focus on delivering for business, it'll be helpful whatever the Brexit outcome.
Has Brexit made it difficult to focus on all of those things?
Well, I think Brexit has squeezed the bandwidth of the UK government, but it need not be that way. It needs to be running on 2 tracks, a competitive UK with lower costs, particularly upfront costs for business, and at the same time getting to that negotiated Brexit deal.
How ready is business for Brexit then? You've done a survey suggested nearly 2/3 of businesses have not done risk assessments. How much of a worry is that as we approach March next year?
I sort of divide business into 3 tribes on Brexit at the moment. There are those who are preparing actively, there are those who are watching and waiting, and there are those who I rather unkindly call the ostriches, who stuck their heads in the sand. more businesses are watching and waiting or have their heads in the sand than are actively preparing. Now, of course, our bigger, more internationally active businesses are preparing. They are getting ready for change. But we've got to do more to help smaller and medium-sized firms in particular prepare for change ahead.
OK, Adam, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us on Bloomberg TV. Adam Marshall, the Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce, here with me in Birmingham at the Conservative Party conference.